स्वीयानां तान् निजाचार्यान् प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः यदनुग्रहतो जन्तुः सर्वदुःखातिगो भवेत् तमहं सर्वदा वन्दे श्रीमद्वल्लभनन्दनम् अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः नमामि हृदये शेषे लीलाक्षीराब्धिशायिनं लक्ष्मीसहस्रलीलाभिसेव्यमानं कलानिधिं चतुर्भिश्च 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 त्रिभिस्तथा षड्भिर्विराजते योऽसौ पञ्चधाहृदये मम श्रीकृष्णं परमानन्दं दशलीलायुतं सदा सर्वभक्तसमुद्धारे विस्फुरन्तं परं नुमः नमो भगवते तस्मै कृष्णायाद्भुतकर्मणे रूपनाम विभेदेन जगत्क्रीडति यो यतः बुद्धिप्रेरककृष्णस्य पादपद्मं प्रसीदतु ध्यानसमर्थजीवानाम् अस्माकं सर्वदा स्वतः नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये श्रीकृष्णसमारम्भां वल्लभाचार्यवर्धिताम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां शुकरूपप्रबोधज्ञ सर्वशास्त्रविशारद एतत्कथाप्रकाशेन मदज्ञानं विनाशय नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं श्रीगोवर्धननाथ की जय श्री गिरिराज की जय श्याम सुंदर श्री यमुने महारानी जी की जय श्री वल्लभाधीश की जय श्री गोसाई जी परम दयाल की जय। On recommendation and after conversation, ideally it was supposed to be scheduled a slight earlier, but we've kept the first 30 minutes of your katha only to get clarification on concepts that you have heard in the past 6 days. So the forum is open for whatever you want to ask, however you want to ask, how much ever you want to ask. I'll repeat myself. Whatever you want to ask, however you want to ask, and how much you want to ask.
Could you clarify on the Gayatri Mantra, who can do it and what we should be doing it for mainstream?
Sure. So there are two forms of Gayatri. There are multiple forms of Gayatri Mantra. Primary two forms of Gayatri Mantra. One comes from the Ved, second comes from the Puran. The ones who have the Janoi should do of the Ved. The ones who don't have the Janoi should do from Puran. Both have equal effects. Both have um, the same meaning. The pronunciation method differs. The outcome is still going to remain the same, despite the different input rather. So one requires having a Janoi, the other one doesn't require having a Janoi. But the beauty about this is a lot of people feel Sanatan Dharma is biased. It's not biased. It has made relevant uh, arrangements for both the communities. So I hope that clarifies Gayatri Mantra's question.
And when you're listening to Gayatri Mantra, the way it is still that is something we can't get out if they are.
See, certain mantras are Gupta and certain mantras are open to like open to heard, to be heard. What we have learned as per the Vedic understanding is that people who know the secrecy of mantra wouldn't listen Gayatri mantra openly. And if you want to listen to the Gayatri mantra in the open way, then don't listen to the Vedic one, listen to the Pauranic one, the other one.
Is the Quranic one available online? I can't see it. It's the same. You sure it's the same one?
The concern is it has not been so popular. See, there was, I mean, I might offend some people while saying this, but a parivar got established in India by the name Gayatri. And when the founder of that parivar was entering a katha of Dongreji Maharaj, Dongreji Maharaj didn't allow him for the katha, stating that you have gone ahead and done something that Gayatri shouldn't have interfaced. Similarly, see what happens whenever there's an abuse of power, or people are mindlessly also rebelling. Both of these start their own cults. Both of these start their own sects, and they propagate a similar principle but in an interpreted format. For example, there's one entire sect which is against the yagnas. They feel yagnas are only representational in nature, so they have their own interpretations and methodologies of communicating things. But it's a little natural to happen. Why? Because every now and then there'll be one group of people who would interpret certain things certain differently, and they would create their own sect and they would create their own cult. The concern comes the longevity of these cults, the outcome of these cults, and the after effects of these cults. Multiple times we Pandits have experienced this. Whenever a mantra is chanted in an inappropriate way or in an incorrect way, even when a sadhana is done in an incorrect way, it has repercussions. Sadhanas and mantras are supposed to make you grounded, not egoistic. They are supposed to make you calm and composed and not extremely arrogant. They are supposed to make you more open in comparison to closed. Certain mantras would have adverse effects as well. For example, if you go chanting as per the Tantra methodology, Tantra is generally meant for, so Tantra has two objectives. A, Tantra is one way of reaching to their divine. The other side of Tantra is doing negative things to other people. In other words, there is positive energy and negative energy. In this case, when Tantra is used for abusing someone else, it has adverse effects. So, time and by, you will find newer cults, newer mantras. However, if you stick to the original practices, I think it's highly recommendable. Yeah, there are some, uh, for example, there are some ways to amend them. Like, for example, 500 years ago, going to a foreign country was a major problem. Even Bharatiya Pandits were quite orthodox in nature. Why? Because rules and regulations were not maintained. Your daily lifestyle is not maintained. It is also said where there are no Pandits or no mandir, you are not supposed to go. Shastra's idea was that. But someone took the efforts of coming over here, someone took the efforts of getting a mandir made. Certain Pandits also took an effort to come and stay here. And they maintain rules and regulations. So sometimes these contradictory points might even stay. In similar case for you, when such video is not there on YouTube, why don't you be the first one to get it made and get it uploaded?
While taking, the Jain people, when they take January, why they are not, that time they are telling this Gayatri mantra is only for them and not for us.
That's a
That is
way.
one thing. And the other thing, like all the Vedic mantras, which is like not to be chanted as regular, have the other version which we can chant, or
Yeah. The Purans are meant for you. All Purans are meant for you. Mahabharata is meant for you. So any shlok of any Devi or Devta is meant for you. And a lot of acharyas have written mantras as well. So let's say if you're a Shiva devotee, today being Shivratri, let's say you are someone who recites Namah Shivaya. Shankaracharya has written one beautiful Panchakshar Stotra, which says Nagendra Haraya Trilochanaya, Vasmangaragaya Maheshwaraya. So it's just that you need to go and speak with someone who knows these things. So I am sorry that the Pandits are not communicating that this needs to be done that way. Possibly you need to get the right Pandits who can give you relevant information. That's the first thing. And the second thing, for every or almost every Vedic mantra, there will be an alternative Puranic shlok. If not a shlok, a stotra will be available. So those can be recited.
Even on the way of Pushtimar also we are hearing the first time because our mother-in-law, mother, nobody has said this one. So I have learned this.
We had the same conversation yesterday when me and Sandeep ji were out. At that time, he said, our grandmothers used to make us bathe every time, even though we had loose motions. અમે ઘડી ઘડી નાહવું પડતું હતું એક ટાઈમ પછી અમે કંટાળી ગયા. Now, unfortunately, our ancestors also never took an effort to go to a pandit and ask them, મને આવી સિચ્યુએશન છે તો મારા માટે સ્નાનનો ઓલ્ટરનેટિવ શું છે? Now, in a very simple case, when you are undergoing a medical case, even Shastra understands it. So Shastra has also given 10 forms of snans. But we are only aware of one snan, which is from toe, tip to toe. There's a snan till kati, which is like till waist. There's a snan which is of mantra. There's a snan of bhasma. So there are multiple other snans as well which can be done. But had they known, they could have told. They would have given this alternative. That's why study of dharma was a practice in families which has gone away for quite a amount of generations in our houses. I've heard a lot of European-based people and even US-based people who have Islamic faith, they call their Maulvis on Friday to their home just to teach Quran. But when we initiate a Pathshala and we ask children to come for it, મારે બહારગામ જવાનું છે. We have a vacation in place. I have a social commitment to be. I have a birthday party to attend. I can't attend today. I'm not feeling well. Can I see the recordings later? Now I'm not understanding the recordings. Can I go out of the Pathshala? This is the same trend that I've seen last 3 years between 21 and 24. And anyone who gets something in free definitely doesn't have the value for it. So we are very far from what we want to achieve. I think even Jainism people are better than us. Swaminarayan people are better than us. Why? Because there's education system in place for them. So my second concern being, instead of educating only children, I think the parents need to get educated first. And past is gone now. Let's put the past in the past only. Your grandparents couldn't do it for you. Possibly for them, survival was a bigger matter of concern in the country. I'm not going to put blames on them as well. That they shifted countries, they had to fight their own battles. Same problem is there in US. First generation people had no access to mandirs. So they made efforts to make mandirs. Now the third generation is only going to mandirs to drop their parents and come back. They have zero relation with the mandir. So the cycle everywhere. And we feel the wave of Sanatan is increasing. Yeah, the quantum and the interest is increased, but the depth of it has always been a problem.
Can you tell us what is the alternative of Gayatri Mantra?
I gave it that day, Pauranic Gayatri. You just had to go to these Pandits, they would have given it to you. Yeah, just take it from them. Pauranic Gayatri. Yo Deva Savita Asmakam Vadu Mantra api dejo alokone.
Recently, my children got Brahma Samman.
Nice.
Because I told them to, and we have seva. So
Sure.
they went, but the
Acharya.
The Acharya didn't explain anything.
Nice.
They came very like this.
What
in
happened?
1 minute.
Correct.
So then again I sat with them and I explained why we did this. Because we teach and you teach,
Correct.
and it's very different way.
Absolutely.
So I was also shocked that what happened. Like in 1 minute they came outside.
Sorry to hear that.
But actually, this is the case with most of our children. They just go for a second, काम में बोल के कंठी डाला, with the next person, and there's no.
Correct.
See, the reason of no interest in the Dharma is also, okay, how much can parents push? Parents push for education, extracurricular activities, everything.
Correct.
So we need some help from the other side also.
100%.
So till we were children, everything was good. होना है ऐसा तो करो. We used to listen to our parents.
Yeah.
But actually,
And the next generation is not going to.
this generation is not going to, they don't. So we do not have a wide answer for so many things. So we have to come to you. So unfortunately, the Pachala system, what you are suggesting is okay. It doesn't fall into the culture anymore because the last 2 generations have not followed that. So it's going to be tough. So we need open lines of communication to understand all these things.
We need both the parties to come forward. Not just the youngsters, even the elders need to come forward. Elders also need to come forward and learn the culture. You just can't be expecting someone external to come and speak things and just move out. Why? Because while they are teaching something, you don't know certain things. The parent is going to come, the kid is going to come to you first. So it's not just education of one; it's the education of family. And this entire system went away. We were discussing some time ago. The discussion was about, can you still be successful if you walk on the path of dharma? According to us, our social standards are defined by the number of friends we have, the kind of parties we do, the kind of celebrations we have, the kind of vacations we take, the kind of experiences we go through, and possibly the kind of possessions we hold, which allows us to show off in the society. Can a person at the same time be successful? Let's take an opposite example. When a person is earning enough money, doesn't have debt, doesn't have too many friends to spend money with, doesn't go for too many outings, committedly sleeps at 9:30 at night, wakes up at 5:30 in the morning, consistently shows up at work, does the dharma on a daily basis, and at the same time gives decent enough time to family, and possibly when society needs goes forward and does things. Would you not define this person as successful as well? Is it really necessary for us to define success on the basis of materialistic gains or materialistic abundance that we have? This person might have 2 CR in bank balance but wouldn't even speak about it. Is it really necessary to mark a person to be successful on the basis of the kind of lavish lifestyle that they have? And mind you, would you like to maintain that lavish lifestyle on the basis of debt? Rudam krutva grutam pibet. That's a thought process which is given by Charvak. Charvak's philosophy is you have one life, one chance. Doesn't matter. Even if it's someone else's money, just borrow it, eat on it, and then once you die, who's going to think about repayment? So there are some people, and I've heard enough. In my last 7 days interaction, I've heard one thing. The way Bombay was one place to make fool of people, I think Dubai is also one such place where people get fooled easily. And sometimes it's not even your fault. It's just a spur of a moment where things go south. You have zero fault. But someone is just behaving like a predator. They prey upon us. And you just can't do anything about it. Just can't do anything about it. So yeah, if a Samaj needs to change, it's all the 3 generations need to come forward at whatever level they have. The elders who can't move much, shell more money. The middle age who can move and still have the openness to learn things, Find a relevant guru to have a nourishment. Put forth your questions. Let the questions come out of you. How much will you withhold in yourself? Some of your questions will be unrealistic as well. Like मेरे साथ ही क्यों हुआ? अरे क्या तुम्हारे साथ ही क्या सबके साथ होता है? The intensity of it might be different. But we all are facing consequences of certain actions that we might have caused or might have not even caused.
But also, the new generation, we are saying that they are not being able to incorporate this spiritual side of life. But how much have we been able to live that, they also learn seeing how much their parents are doing.
Exactly.
We've also not really questioned and found answers to things, and when they see us being hypocritical, we tell them do certain things because our elders told, but I think we are more educated to find out why we are doing. So we couldn't answer their intellectual answers, so we have lost them on both fronts. So I think our generation missed that learning from the elders properly, and if we learned, how much did we really live with those principles, and how much did we pass on to our kids? They went international studies. I think I saw so many children going out and studying, but at home the practices were not forced very
Correct.
intensely, So they got lost in that.
Question. See, let's say even if you want them to be spiritual in nature, what is your definition of spiritual?
Both religious and
Let's not talk religion for some time. It's a fashionable trend these days to term oneself as spiritual.
What we practice,
Define your spirituality now.
what we will practice during the
Fair, that's a sanskar, it's a tradition that comes down. But my question is, what is spirituality?
It differs from person to person. So if you ask me, spirituality in Bhakti Marg is doing a seva. If you ask
Again,
me, for people to meditate,
again, it went on the religious side.
so why should there be a
want to
difference?
connect with the authority.
You see spirituality in religion, right?
No, right now I don't want to talk about religion. I just want to talk about the current trend. I just want to talk about the current trend which only claims to be spiritual and not religious.
Way of finding truth.
Way of finding truth,
living with the values of life.
living with values of life, and who defines these values? Your own self. Because there's zero scope of scriptures. It's my intuition that will guide me. That's what the current spiritualist will say. Then what else is there?
Religion involves holy books.
Religion's involved. I'm not talking about religion right now. Religion is out of question now.
We can't isolate the two.
Right now the situation is isolated only. Na? All the spiritualists who are claiming to be spiritualists, they have nothing to do with religion. So उनका जो मन आता है वो मन के हिसाब से वो लोग चलते हैं. My intuition guides me. That's what they say.
That is very dangerous, no? Because when they follow some path which is more further away from Krishna.
But right now our situations is equally worse. Na? Neither we are following the scripture nor we are following the self.
So it's better to guide them the religious way to follow it.
Again, I'm not going in that debate. My question is very simple. What is spirituality?
I think that's something that does not have rules that needs to be followed in certain fashion, like the religion does. I think that's a liberation that is found in the term
Also,
spirituality.
they want to find self.
So practicing spirituality, most of the people want to identify self and they don't want to stick to certain rules and regulations, but they want to inculcate certain belief system for sure. That this is my boundary and area of belief system.
Yes.
And what happens after 25 years of this belief system? Where do they reach?
That cult wherever they find it.
The cult wherever they find it. And that cult, again, has been made from where?
Society. Yeah. I mean, from within itself.
Where will that cult be made from? Let's talk about Osho, for example. Where did Osho got made from?
Among us.
People, the same
They
thought
find from
process,
society,
people.
they find what is accessible
Hmm.
to them.
One, more relatable, more accessible, more people following, more propaganda, more marketing.
Correct.
And easy to implement or not. And why? Of course, Osho was easy for people to implement. Na?
Yeah, easy.
Very easy for people to implement. Right? So the wave of spirituality will keep changing across.
And follows the
Right now, it will be X. 100 years from later, it will be Y. 150 years from later, it will be Z. 200 years from later, it will be A. 400 years from later, it will be B. It will keep on evolving. Yes, I was expecting a question from you.
Does that mean that as of now, spirituality means chasing self gratifications based on socialistic needs? Could that be it?
Even if I don't want to keep socialistic means, somehow people find an identity when they relate to something.
So again, it comes down to self gratification.
And let's say you want your spirituality to be different than mine. Where will you find the principles of spirituality? Let's say you won't read religious authors, you will read spiritual authors. And all these spiritual authors are only going to tell you from the experiences that they have. So, again, your current inner self is also being inspired by someone who has written something which is not so called a scripture now. There's no holiness in this book right now. But again, maybe the power of manifestation.
Yes.
How did the law come into existence?
Yes.
Someone wrote it,
Yes.
someone experienced it, someone wrote it, got propagated, 10,000 people in the world started speaking about it, and now it's a big thing. That thoughts becomes things.
Law of attraction.
So you just came up with a new product in the market by going away from the term religion, by coming into the space of spirituality. And mind you, in your spirituality, is there a ritual? You might, no, in general, not specifically asking you.
Not
No,
necessarily.
no.
Spirituality has no ritual?
No.
Confirm no ritual?
Yes.
So if you meditate, is that a ritual or not a ritual?
It's not like a, I mean, it's not an everyday thing. It doesn't need everyday commitment.
Wouldn't that depend on perception?
It all started from, as Sunita
Individual
put it,
perception.
about our children, how to make them follow religion. See,
We're not, my topic of area is spirituality. It has nothing to do with children, nothing to do with religion.
Spirituality is also coming to us from religion only.
No,
Our
but
base is religion.
there's no space for ritual now over here. That's what people are saying.
Yeah, that's true.
So basically, you can live the way you want to.
Yes. There are no bindings.
Nah, there are no bindings. You can eat whatever you want to, whatever serves my inner self. So tomorrow, if I feel like fish is something that is continuously nourishing myself, I'll ham on it.
That's dangerous.
I'm not categorizing anything right now. I am just talking like a spiritual person.
But that not.
but that is something that you define. For us,
But spirituality is what I believe in, na?
it defines you maybe, but we think spirituality has to have boundaries of religion.
My spirituality, my way of perception, my way of practices, I would love to live. Love to live life this way.
But those are all borrowed knowledge from books.
No, my inner self is guiding me.
This is the same what next generation is going to speak.
Yeah, so that's what I'm being the next generation in front of you right now.
Yeah, but that's exactly how it
So
is.
that's what we want you to help us. How does it help?
I'm not helping anyone. Help me fix this problem right now.
The problem is,
I am spiritual. You are telling me I need not have a ritual. I may meditate the time I want to. I may sleep the time I want to. I may eat the time I want to.
No.
No, that's what the current generation is claiming.
Very dangerous.
But that's what the current generation is claiming.
You tell us how to become from spiritual to religious.
Again, I'm not going in the debate of Pushti Marg and I'm not going in the debate of religion. I am being spiritual right now.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I am the guiding force of my own belief right now, which is spirituality.
That's exactly how it is.
But you need now. One experience is
No, no.
Practice
Those
religion.
people that's not
okay,
work.
what does the
How
step
can you,
follow?
how can you let them go?
What is the
And
step
start on
follow?
what?
Okay.
Everybody is.
If our children are like how you purport them to be, how do we get them on the path of what we want them to do? Guidance required.
So first I'll have a conversation with Utsi.
I view it.
Utsi, are spiritual people generally so opinionated that their belief systems just doesn't allow them to change? I'm known to be the religious guy, so for me behaving spiritual right now is a little difficult.
I guess it depends on. That's the point of spirituality, at least how it is right now. It's the lack of boundaries that makes one spiritual person to another very different. So, really identifying as spiritual is not. It doesn't really have any significant or specific meaning, right? Like religion does.
And how do we understand the depth of a spiritual person?
How many hours he meditates? What a good person he is.
Yeah.
Number of hours of meditation has nothing to do with the person being spiritual
Right
or not.
away, he's conducting himself.
What kind of a person?
You can be 6 hours meditation and having zero compassion in life.
Absolutely.
You could have 6 hours of meditation and zero comfort of change. Like anything that changes not trigger you.
Yes, we have seen it.
Yeah. And you could be as ignorant as someone can be. Like, to be very honest, you can be as lost as Girish uncle and the world won't bother to you. It's true why is he called as Narsi Mehta. There's a reason why he's called Narsi Mehta. We all are implementing what is convenient to us. Including me, including you, including all of us. So I'm glad that people are spiritual. I'm happy if you are spiritual. I'm happy if your self is guiding you. But someday you'll need a master, if not a master, that higher power to guide you. And you'll have to surrender to that higher power. Now, if you are growing on spiritual grounds and you are not being able to figure a way to be more compassionate, more grounded, and if you're telling me that spiritual people are not supposed to be compassionate, not supposed to be grounded, then I'm doubting those core principles of spirituality as well. Whoever might be guiding them, may it be their inner self, may it be that Uparwala as well, whom you don't want to give a form, don't want to give a shape, don't want to give a size, but you still want to call him Nirakar, you want to call him the source, and all the things that you're calling for Shiva, primarily speaking. Today is Shivratri, na? Shiv doesn't have form, Shiv doesn't have size, Shiv doesn't have shape. Shiv is avyakta. So all of those things, you don't want to call him Shiv, still ends up being Shiv. And at the initial phase, it's fine that your inner self is guiding you. But my question is, what's your way forward? What you are telling me I'll behave the way I want to is an escape.
You can't get into understanding space without being grounded.
It's an escape. Because after a point, you'll be still stuck at this place. I don't know where to go forward. Where's the gati? Gati requires a direction, na? Even if you say your inner self will guide you, I'm happy if the inner self guides you. But if while the inner self is guiding you, if you are not elevating as a person, तो क्या कर रहे हैं आपका spirituality? I'll rather like that ignorant dadi who continuously devoted herself to bhakti. She might have been a rakkas for everyone in the family, but I'll tell you something. She did her bhakti and went away. Maybe the areas of place where she could have been better is the compassionate area. Maybe she could have developed it. Vaishnavas are supposed to be compassionate in nature.
Bhakti without understanding.
No, bhakti with understanding is always better. But remember one thing, gopis had zero understanding. The path of knowledge leads you to a stage where I am Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi, I am the ultimate. It's a great form of realization. There's no denial in that. But in that great form of denial, in the great form of realization, if you don't have that compassion, you're carrying that burden of wisdom and knowledge on you like an ego. I'll give you a situation. Most of us, we're not, some of us are not that intellectually superior. बुद्धि में नहीं जाता हमारा. There was this one case when two acharyas were discussing one line of philosophy, and they were like legendary scholars, okay? Legendary scholars, studied books. They were not being able to figure out that one line, and they were just joking, and they thought of asking one lady who was standing close by. Now that lady who was standing close by had zero idea about Shastra, zero idea about scriptures. But when they asked her that one question, due to her sadhana of bhakti, she was in a capacity to answer that question about that one line, which awestruck those two acharyas. And instead of condemning her that how the hell do you know more than us, one of those acharyas just went and did Dandavat stating that you solved my query since last 25 years. If this is the Gnan that you have, which has made you humble, then I think you've walked on the right path.
Is there an element of arrogance in Pushti Marg?
Yeah, for people who feel that they are doing too much bhakti, and if they have arrogant, mind you, they're not bhakta. And the last catastrophe period of this 100 year, where the primary importance to oppress more than the actual bhakti became, that's one of the place where people have gone away. See, there's a very simple rule in Pushti. You take a bath, you wear new clothes or you wear fresh clothes, you go and do seva and don't meddle around anywhere else. That also includes you don't stay on Instagram reels or YouTube videos while you're doing seva. That was a simple thought. You have to stay in a Shuddha Avastha. Shuddha Avastha physically, Shuddha Avastha mentally. Currently, a lot of people are in Shuddha Avastha physical form. They're maintaining those decorums. ટિફિન ભરવાનું છે, છોકરાઓને મોકલવાના છે, આ ટાસ્ક કમ્પ્લીટ કરવાનું છે, ઓલું ટાસ્ક કમ્પ્લીટ કરવાનું છે. So physically you are there, but mentally you are somewhere else only. Rather, you should have done meditation. At least you would have got a chance to close your eyes and focus upon something. And for people who have ahankar in Pushti Marg, there's no place for you.
But then there's no avoiding that. This is daily routine. How do you avoid that? Avoid what?
What's the point of physical seva when you're not even focusing on Thakurji and continuously thinking about Lokik things? It's like the same Varta when a Vaishnava was asked, "Ah, bhai ghare che na, ito juto leva gaya cha." Why? Because at that point of time he was thinking of buying new shoes. What is your chitta doing? The definition of seva is status tatpravanam seva. That your chit needs to focus on that ulterior Almighty. And then only it culminates into seva.
So this is where there is a conflict between Lokik and our seva. So now we're living in a material world. Okay, we have our families, we have children, whoever, whatever. We have responsibilities. These are material, our Lokik responsibilities. Now we have to do seva, we go to Mangalam. Okay? We have to think about our kids are going to school or we have this job complete. Now I can focus for 5, 10, 15 minutes. But then I have to go back to my local work. Now this is where our children have an issue. We have to get up, take a shower, go to work, do more work, and then we tell them, okay, do seva, do work, do this, do that. It's a real conflict. This is where the issue is. How do you bring your alokik self into your lokic work? That itself is a conflict. And when we come out, let's say we are doing our seva, whatever, we come and touch, why touch? Because I have to go take a shower. That's the problem. So what do you, I'm not impure. That's not the point. It's how we think about what happens. They don't understand that.
Sure. For once, why don't you meddle down your rules of oppress for time being? Meddle them down for once. Stop hurting the future devotees of the house. That's the first thing that you can do. Second thing, let's say if they can't do seva in the morning, include them in the seva at the night. Like, what do you mean by night? Preparation for the next day. If they have 15 minutes, tell them, okay, you know what, I'm going to take a bath, I want you to take a shower. Come, do preparations for the next day. Now I'll give you 2, 3 ideas for it. A, flower malas. That's the easiest way to include them. You can ask them to create 2 rods of mogra or koyal or whatever fruit flowers that you get and get the mala made from them. That's the first way to go forward. Second, the most irritative fruit, pomegranate. Because none other fruits will sustain as fresh as they will be in the next day. You can get this made in the evening. And third, you can include them in the process of what all needs to be offered next day and do the preparations at night. And one good thing, you can give them a Ramta Lala. Ramta Lala is a Lala which doesn't have any breath in him, doesn't have any Pushtavafied Bhav in him. It's just meant for playing. You make them involved with their own Lalan, you make them involved with their own Thakurji, and eventually they'll start falling in love with the concept of Thakurji. That's exactly what happened with me. I had my own Lalan right from the age of 3.
But then do you include, when you go to the main seva, whatever, so do you include that lala also in the?
Not necessarily. That Lalan can stay wherever that Lalan wants to stay. Don't include it in the main seva. He's Ramta. Ramta means खेलता. खेलो कहाँ जा खेलना है खेलो. घर में खेलो, घर के बाहर खेलो, जहाँ खेलना है खेलो.
Do you think what's also missing is alignment of values in terms of why this is important in the generation?
See, if the elder generations haven't understood the core, how will they pass it on to the younger ones as well? So if they recognize that it, 2 things, you could be logical, you could be ignorant, you could be both. As far as you're understanding the importance of values yourself, only then you'll be in a capacity to pass it on to the next generation. Second, you have conflicts. You could be opposing in nature. You could be submissive in nature. You could be either of the personalities. Have you sat down and defined the values that this is okay for me, this is not okay for me? Let's find a common ground. A common ground. And the beauty about relationships is one person loves AC, one person doesn't love AC, they get married and they are there for 50 long years together. That's what I've heard everywhere. Opposites attract. Now you've already got attracted. You're already 25 years down in that game. It's still not late to find a way to reconcile. Reconciliation is something that is essential year on year. Even Bhagavan Shri Krishna does reconciliation with Rukmini ji. Why? Because he spends time with Rukmini ji. KYC. Sure, okay. No, sure. KYP, know your partner. Yes, boss.
So we're having a discussion of religion versus but religion and spirituality. Earlier. I started thinking about what stops me from getting into religion, getting much more deeper. Sometimes I find that in religion there can be limitations on certain experiences. Like yesterday you mentioned
Bhajananand, yeah.
Right? And you mentioned it's 2 devotees talking about.
Yeah, one such example was 2 devotees talking and getting engrossed.
Yeah. 2 devotees talking, getting engrossed, and they experience times, distortion, don't want to eat, all that. Super this thing.
Yeah.
But I've had those experiences with certain friends of mine.
Sure.
So we've gone on for 10, 12, 15-hour conversations.
Correct.
About all sorts of things.
Sure.
When sometimes religion comes into play, it puts a limitation that this experience can only be experienced through conversations about the religion or God.
Did it end after 15 hours?
Yeah, but then few days later we meet again and it's the same again, right?
Correct. So if you elevate yourself, let's just say if you elevate on the path of your meditation aspect of it, I'm certain you'll be able to beat this number of hours. Here you have to take efforts to meet again and get it done, na?
True.
Here your one elevation only will make you stay there for a long duration of time.
So wouldn't the emphasis rather be on that feeling? Let's say whether it's a feeling of gratitude, feeling of grace, feeling of bliss, feeling of whatever, where that can be the emphasis. Because yes, I agree that in part or taking part in religion eventually brings you. That's the point to me right now. That is, yes, of course it is the seva, but more than that is the feelings that come in while you do seva.
Sure.
Right? What if you go for the feeling directly?
How will you go for it?
I don't know because I mean.
So here I know, na. That's how I'm telling you to go via that.
True, true. But isn't it ignorant to say that that's the only way?
I've never said that's the only way. The beauty about Shastra is it doesn't claim that this is the only way. And it is open to acceptance depending on the kind of person you are. For example, I told Sandeep ji yesterday, you are a Mahabharat person, you're not a Bhagavad person. Because there's a warrior in you who wants to fight. There are management principles under you, in you, which needs to be expressed. There's a lot of courage in you which needs to go out and shoot the guns. I'm certain that the war is something that you're expecting, not devotion. So you are listening to Bhagavat. I'm going to talk about devotion over here. You want to talk about how do I elevate myself? You'll have to read Yoga Sutra. You want to gather courage on how to go for a battle? You'll have to read Mahabharata. So depending on your aspired goal, you have a way forward. And it will never claim that this is the only way forward.
Yeah, that is something that.
Dharma is supposed to give you a gati. Then you and your ishta will also define how far or how fast can you go.
So the idea is, let's say, getting to the same principles that, at least for me, is the goals of spirituality kind of thing.
Sure.
Whether it's, whether it's experiencing grace or bliss or oneness or whatever it is, but then religion gives a foundation and a certain path. Because I recognize, at least in the last few days, that sometimes on the spiritual path, like you said, where it's just following yourself, the mind starts to play games.
My concern is the mind.
Yeah.
My entire concern is the mind. And in spiritual, sometimes the lack of master doesn't make you control on that mind. And sometimes your mind overpowers yourself, which leads you to not fight against your mind.
Then there's delusion, there's denial.
Huh. And then you are like, मैं ये कर सकता था, but I'm not being able to do it anymore. I was someone who could do this, but I'm not being able to do right now. I know my problem, I don't know. I know the solutions as well, but it doesn't feel like doing it.
So coming back to our Pushtiman, because I want, like, my children are spiritually inclined, I know, and they want to understand, but why can't we have a platform where we as a parent also can understand Pushtiman in detail, and also our children can interfere in and learn something from basics, you know? Because if there are questions, we don't have answers. We are also searching the answers actually, and we cannot explain them what we are passing through.
There's a kirtan called as Govardhan ki रहिए तरेटी. नित्य प्रति मदन गोपाल लाल के चरण कमल चित लहिए तरेटी. गोवर्धन की रहिए तरेटी. तन पुलकित व्रज रज में लोटत गोविंद कुंड में नहीं है. रसिक प्रीतम हित चित की बातें. बातें. Who are we doing these बातें with? Where are these बातें happening now? The बातें at least used to happen in the house. When, let me take you a little in the past and come, bring you back in the current scenario. 30 years ago, there was Nitya Satsang in the house. 9:30 p.m. Anupama, 10 o'clock p.m. Anupama was not being broadcasted. No one bothered what Anupama did in life. The Satsang gave an idea of how Bhagavan takes efforts to interact with you in various forms. Acha chalo. You are not someone who is religious. You don't like, Bhagavan taking efforts to do things for you. No problem. Not going to force you to do satsang. There was a concept called as Swadhyay. What was Swadhyay? Swadhyay is you sit with the scripture and learn from it. Acha chalo. Don't want to learn from scriptures, have irritation with the scriptures, no problem. Let's put scriptures as well aside for some time. Did you commit to yourself to a X form of sadhana or a practice and you did it on a consistent basis? Doesn't matter if they're your family. Pushti Margya Jeev, you don't have to do seva when Pindru and Sutak comes. You have to respect the Vedic Maryada. But for people who have zero relations with Dharma, you are spiritual. You are continuously supposed to meditate. Are you consistently doing it, and is that your higher self guiding you because of that? Or you became so elevated that now I just don't need it anymore? In Pushti, you reach that elevation stage where you don't need seva anymore is when you come to a dasha called as Vyasan. Vyasan dasha refers to when you move away from Bhagavan as well. 1 second, Bhagavan doesn't feel comfortable without you. But we are living in an imaginary world where we want to achieve it, but we take zero efforts towards it. And this is what even the Shastra has been continuously saying. You talk big, but what about the efforts that you need to take to reach to your goal? There's a Bollywood actor, he said a very good statement. Before you become philosopher, now become rich. I love that statement. દુનિયાનું ગામનું જ્ઞાન પછી આપજો, પહેલા જે રિસ્પોન્સિબિલિટીઝ પૂરી કરવાની એને પહેલા કરી લેજો. Be affluent enough to be in a capacity so that people even listen to you. And coming back to what are we going to do for the next generation? List down your questions. Instead of doing these full fakka manorats, go to the achar and ask him, these are my 20 questions, give me answers.
They don't tell it.
Then find people like me and nurture us again, because this is the same society has discarded people like us. 40 years ago, ratio of Shastris to Vallabhkul Acharyas. 160 Vallabhkul Acharyas to 40 Shastris. Current scenario, go take a lamp and go and find a Shastri in Pushtimarg. Tell me if you find more than 5 who are dedicated to Pushtimarg. Tell me 5 Shastris. What are people interested in? Dancing, singing, manorats, food, enjoyment. मजा आना चाहिए. It's all about maja. But then if I'll ask you, who will do this much after 25 years? You have a question? Go ahead.
Actually, three.
Bol.
So first one was, what is exactly bhakti? It's in of itself.
Hmm.
Like, for
You will have to
example,
go to third day of the katha to understand that. You'll have to watch it on YouTube.
okay, gotcha. Second question. My question, when you said you need a master for, let's say, like guidance towards destination,
Yeah.
does that master has to be someone specific, or it could be people around you that may share their own experiences through which you can take suggestions, out of which you can make your own destination? Could that be a way?
You can be Dora the Explorer and ask around and find your way, but if you want a way faster, find a guru. And that guru shouldn't have expectations from you. That you will do XYZ things from him. The guru's job is only to show you direction. Guru goes behind.
And the final question was, when we say bhakti, right? Does the action does an action have to be related to religion for it to be bhakti?
Give me an example.
So, for example, when we talk about seva, right? There are a lot of people that normally when we say seva, it is when you go into a conversation, it is always connected to religion during the conversation. But then you can also say people who feed, like homeless people or people who cannot afford food. That is also technically seva.
Manushya Seva and Bhagavad Seva cannot be compared.
Sorry?
Manushya Seva and Bhagavad Seva are not the same.
Okay.
Manushya Seva needs to be done irrespective of whether you believe in Bhagavan or not. You don't need a motivation for it, that if you feed 10 people and then Bhagavan will grace you. Even if you are someone who doesn't believe in Bhagavan, Manushya Seva needs to happen naturally, out of compassion. And that's why these two principles are not relatable only.
So that's why my question was like, the first one was bhakti, like what is bhakti? Because that would classify as if my third question, because it is technically connected. Does any action have to be related to religion when I am like helping somebody else for it to become bhakti?
Helping someone else doesn't become a part of bhakti. Helping someone else is a part of your dharma as a person. It has nothing to do with bhakti. Even if you're bhakta or not a bhakti, you are still supposed to help someone. So if you're someone who believes in karma, you're still supposed to help someone. You are someone who believes in meditation, you're still supposed to help someone. Till that extent that if you're a bhakta, you are still supposed to help someone. So helping someone has zero connection with bhakti. But after being bhakta as well, if you can understand to be compassionate, तो क्या भक्ति कर रहे हो? Despite having more than 100 plus adhyayas, I've taken the risk to ask me questions. So if you still have more questions, you can ask me. But be ready to go to a Virar fast as well at the same time. My first katha where I'm worried where I'll be able to finish my katha or not. But I have no regrets. But that's hate confused, I understand. Sudharu. Be the right kind of example for your children. One humble request. If you are not a decent role model, they might never look up to you. And when I'm going to say this, please take it the way you want to take it. In one age, they will go out and seek ways of escape, ways of looking up to other people, and they will find solace in people of their age because they will feel they are smarter than you. But once they distance from them, they will suddenly realize the need of parents in life. And at that time, if you will desert them, possibly you'll lose them forever. At that time, instead of your self claiming to say this should have been done and it didn't happen, take a step behind and help them out. Later on, you can fight about principally what was supposed to be the right thing to do. So, this is one of my recommendations. And you had a question.
When you say find a mentor, should I be going around looking forward, or when I'm ready, there will be somebody who will come in front of me?
It works both ways. It works both ways. The deeper intensity of you finding one also makes it appear. And sometimes you have to initiate conversations with a couple of them to understand whether they can be the one to guide me or not. And mind you, doctors give you prescriptions and you have those prescriptions and somehow you subside your pain. Do you sit and bother understanding what medicines you are having? You just have it. Pain goes away and possibly you know the doctor is fine. Hopefully the doctor is fine. After all, the game of insurance comes into the picture. But what about the doctors who give you medicines for placebo effects? What about that? What about those doctors? It's because you expect a medicine, that's why they have to issue one for you. After Bhagavad Katha, next time I 3-day workshop. It doesn't become restrictive for topics. You can then shoot blanks as well, it's okay. The concern is when you have a Bhagavad Katha, you have to respect the authority of Bhagavad Ji and your thoughts have to be around Bhagavad Ji. But our materialistic problems are only so much in life. Now, thinking about Bhagavad Ji itself is a challenge. Anyway, coming back to the placebo effect part of it. Just because a mentor is telling you things that's not going in your way doesn't mean the mentor is also wrong. Like for example, like one hard diet coach will come and tell me do 10 push-ups. I'll look at him, he'll look at me, I'll look at him, he'll look at me. But somewhere he's right, I need to do it. But it's not aligning with my values. And I'm expecting some kgs of body to be shred, muscles to be shred without even making the efforts. It doesn't work that way. So sometimes when a mentor is giving you a solution which is not in your alignment, doesn't mean the mentor is also wrong. After trying you failed, maybe then it didn't work out.
There's no relationship with your mentor. It's just that he guides you and there can be many mentors in your life now.
You can have as many mentors as you want to. There can be multiple teachers. But the ashray, respect all. Ashray one. Any other question? I had a very fun conversation yesterday. Sandeep ji is like, why are you telling me sides of flutes? I don't like them. There's no value addition for me. Then I told him the reasoning. Then he's like, you should have told to everyone. I'm like, you should feel like saying it to everyone, na? But मेरे को आपको ही गुलाब जामुन देना है, सबको नहीं देना है, मेरी मर्जी. So then we also had a moment of laughter, just like you, how all of you are laughing right now. Like, Shastri ji, why would you even say it left or right or क्या ही फर्क पड़ता है? Then I told him क्यों फर्क पड़ता है. And like, you should have told it to everyone. And मेरा मन नहीं था बताने का, बट सबको बताने के लिए. See, remember one thing, rasana is only given to a patra. Rasa is only given to a patra. It just doesn't come to equally to everyone. Just because you came here doesn't mean everyone is getting the benefits of it. You are getting proportional benefits. Proportional benefits in what sense? The way you are, the katha comes for you. I'll give you my personal example. I tried pushing, I was having a conversation with Uday Bhai as well. I told him I was trying to speak about Sharad, but I just couldn't speak. We have a Sevagram of Sharad Utsav. It happened so that I'll end up speaking 10 minutes about it. Yesterday, I didn't even mention a single thing of how Ras Leela is implemented in Pushtiman. It just didn't come. So, I've been saying all these days, how the Shrotas are, the Vakta's Katha also changes as per the tunes. तो गुलाब जामुन नहीं देना था तो नहीं दिया, मोतीचूर का लड्डू खा के एंजॉय करो. Now comes the story of Bhagavan Shri Krishna's first son, whose name is Pradyumna. Kamdev was someone who could win over everyone, but then tried to win over Shivji. Shivji is like, abhi to bachcha hai. Burnt him down, burnt the entire physical body of Kamdev down. See, there are two things, Kamdev and Maya. Kamdev and Maya, Kam is desire, Maya is delusion. They both play around with you. How do they play around with you? Supreme most intellectual people as well can get a wrong desire and take a wrong decision, or can become mohit. Maya can start impacting them, and maybe the rational most decision also is not taken. And I think in Gujarati we call it as Jhanjwana Jod. What is Jhanjwana Jod? When you're going in the desert, in the desert, during the day, it appears that there is water. But the minute you reach there, there's a delusion. Kai hatuj nahi. This is a classic example of Maya. At once, he was talking about I can be with my friends and I can get that same experience. There's a difference between experiencing gratefulness and experiencing grace. And there's a different experience of escaping something. Sitting with your friends is an ideal scenario of escaping all your problems first come, first serve. Because for those X number of hours, you wouldn't even feel like bothering about my investment problem, my relationship problem, my mummy problem, my papa problem, my beta problem, my beti problem, XYZ problems. So, are you claiming that the experience of escaping is equivalent to the experience of gratefulness? Or are you grateful for the escape that you had right now? I'm just taking one use case. We can have this conversation, don't worry. I'm not running away. You still have one more day with me, and you still have my number for life with me now. And it's not like our relationship is going to stop just because the katha takes a pause. Assuming Mitsu auntie still wants me to come back.
What the question answer?
And at that time, I'll be in zero shield, right as our Bhagavati shield. At that time, everyone else, it was machine gun only. Bring machine gun. What I know is what I know. What I don't know is what I don't know. Even I'll learn something from you. This is a very Adbhut story. The Adbhut story is a baby gets stuck in a fish, and from that fish, that baby is recovered. Imagine this: you're about 6-10 days old, and the baby goes lost, and that baby comes after certain years. What will happen to the mother? Yeah. So the baby was kept. Bird flies the baby, drops it in the ocean. While dropping in the ocean, a fish has the baby. So now the baby is gone inside a fish. A fisherman catches hold of a fish, and they happen to find the baby which is there in their hands. And this happens to be Bhagavan Shri Krishna's son. अभी इसमें लॉजिक ढूंढने जाओगे तो हो चुका. How is it possible? Who was this reckless person that who kept the baby in the window? How was the bird so strong enough to take the baby and put it in the ocean? How convenient is it that the fish had this mouth open and the baby just went inside? So, yeah, I mean, I can find reasons for all of these things. Maybe I'll need a day, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 7. But क्या करूं मैं ये reason का? I'll rather embrace the fact that the desire in the world, which is known as the name Kam, happens to be the son of Bhagavan. Someone who was burnt by Shivji has been given a chance to be the son. And mind you, he happens to be equally appealing like Krishna. In terms of looks, in terms of power, in terms of intellect. And he lands up killing an asur called as Shambrasur, who was someone who was going to attack him. And later on gets married to Rambha. Now, if you want to take it from a different perspective, Kama, when he gets married to a slightly elderly woman who nurtured him. If your mati is fine, you will accept it the way you accept it. But if your mati goes in the opposite direction, you will start finding meanings that may or may not be relevant to the katha. Then comes, if your house is undergoing through a lot of ashanti, possibly this is one of the kathas that you should hear. That katha is of a jewel called as Samantak Mani. Samantak Mani is considered to be the jewel which is there in England right now, which is called Kohinoor. Asit Satrajita Suryo Bhaktasya Paramasakha. So the sun has a friend who also happens to be the Bhakta, and his name is Satrajit. Now Satrajit is blessed with a jewel. This jewel produces gold. Lottery. Everyone wants wealth. Satrajit also wants wealth. Now the problem with this wealth is Satrajit happens to lose his money, happens to lose his jewel. And because his jewel got lost, everyone started blaming Bhagavan Shri Krishna that you are the one who has stolen it. Generally, whom you are jealous of will become the target first. Satrajit had a concern with Bhagavan Shri Krishna, and that's why the allegation went on his grounds. Now, just for the sake of clearing his own name, Bhagavan first had to create a committee, and that committee's job was to find where the money has gone. So now the committee goes forward, they find one lion. The lion was someone who got the access to it. Prior to that, there was a Yadav. The Yadav got killed. Then this lion had access to the money. And then this money goes to someone called as Jambavan. Who's Jambavan? Jamban is the one who guided Hanumanji to go to the Lanka. Now that Jamban who was there in Rama Avatar happens to live in a cave, has a beautiful daughter called as Jambavati. Now Bhagavan, while finding all of these, Satyajit is still worried, where is my money? I don't have access to my money. Now a lion has passed away. After that, this money has gone to Jambavan. He has given this money to be played with his daughters. As soon as Bhagavan gets to know that there is a cave, and in that cave this money is inside, Bhagavan goes inside that cave, starts fighting with this Jambavan, and the battle lasts for quite good number of days. And while it lasts for a good number of days, people who were there with Bhagavan Shri Krishna thought that Bhagavan Shri Krishna has passed away. So they go back in the kingdom and spread the message that Bhagavan is not there anymore. Bhagavan couldn't recover the money. So Satyajit is Satyajit. He's the way he is, gets the information that I haven't recovered the money back. And people are unhappy because Bhagavan Shri Krishna can never come back. And over here, Bhagavan Shri Krishna is fighting for a good number of days. After fighting, Bhagavan gave such a punch that Jambavan reason came to senses that the one that I'm beating is actually no one else but Ram of previous avatar. He has come back again. Sometimes you fight and only then you realize the worth of it. Over here, Bhagavan is like, give me the money back, I have to clear my name. And here, Jambavan is like, I am only going to give you the money provided you are ready to marry my daughter. So Bhagavan Shri Krishna eventually lands up marrying to someone called as Jambavati. Now mind you, Jambavati is extremely beautiful. She is nowhere closer to being a bear. I have a question. In Hinduism, can you do more than one marriage or no?
Yes. Yes. The constitution doesn't allow, but Hindu doesn't allow. Sanatana doesn't allow.
Surprisingly, he's right. He's not wrong. That's between you all. That's not my area of expertise. But my concern is, do you have the capacity to have a second wife? बस तो उनका हम ख्वाब जो आज खोटा खोटा. At certain levels, Hinduism had no denial of having multiple wives. And one exceptional case was having multiple husbands. The only exceptional case was Draupadi ji, because Draupadi landed up asking for 5 husbands. She said Pati Dehi, Pati Dehi, Pati Dehi 5 times, and because of which she landed up getting 5 husbands. In certain areas, they say, can I have 5 different pars? And because of those 5 different pars, she got 5 husbands. On certain areas, they say that she asked for 5, and that's why she got 5. So polyandry and polygamy has had multiple discussions in the Shastra. It's easier to say this in a country where one husband can have multiple wives. But if I raise the same concern in India, people start looking at me. So how many wives does Bhagavan Shri Krishna have? That's it? And 8. So out of them, you already know about 2. Then you will know about 3rd, which is called Satyabhamaji. And later on, this Sambantak money stolen once again. Bhagavan got it back. Satyajit was happy as well. But then Shatadhanva, Shamantak gets robbed again. And this time, this jewel now reaches to someone called as Akrur. Now, you might be wondering, why am I even mentioning about this money? What is so bothering about it? See, whenever you get something as prasad, you are supposed to maintain the sanctity of it. For example, the money that was received by Satyajit was from Surya. So this was Surya's prasad. Now see, lion doesn't have hands, so lion is going to use the mouth to hold the money. So one space that what we have learned from our elders, you're not supposed to mishandle the prasad. And a lot of people have this habit of doing this. I don't think in Sanatan Dharma we had a practice of touching someone and then bringing it to mouth. The practice was very simple. The practice was when you do charan sparsh, you're supposed to touch your eyes, supposed to touch your head, supposed to touch your heart. My lips kya thi aagya bachche, I don't know. And the second area of concern, you all had a concern that તમને લોકોને આરતી લેવા નથી મળી રહી. And all of you were feeling, hi, Shastriji doesn't know what he's doing. There's a difference between the protocol of Aarti in Maryada and the protocol of Aarti in Pushti. Protocol in Maryada is when you do an Aarti, you're doing Aarti of the Sarvanga, and then you give the Aarti to the Devata. So Deva Bhi Vandanam and Atma Bhi Vandanam. Atma Bhi Vandanam is when you take the Aarti yourself. Control your senses and focus where you are supposed to. I'm not going to repeat this once again. Whereas in Pushti, we are not doing an Aarti with the bhavna of doing an Aarti, we are doing the Aarti with the bhavna of Nazar Utarna. Now, when the Aarti is happening with the bhavna of Nazar Utarna, that Aarti is not supposed to be taken by people. Because it's removal of negative energy. Because there is removal of negative energy, we don't pass it to all of you to take that Aarti. So please don't feel offensive. We know our jobs pretty well. Had I not been having this tilak, had I been having some other form of tilak, I would have given you that Aarti. But since I come from that sampradaya, I have to maintain certain sanctity of that sampradaya. Nathdwara is a mandir, not a haveli.
No, even in Dubai, they keep.
Because they are following the same protocol of Nathdwara. And because your South Indian friends accept it over here. They expect it to be there.
So in Nadwara, actually not supposed to take, right?
In a mandir it's allowed, in a haveli it's not allowed. Tell me one mandir in Pushtimar which has a shikhar. Only Nathdwara has it. Nathadwara is the only mandir that has a shikhar. Navnit Priyaji doesn't have a shikhar. But because Srinathji keeps it, they also keep it. Baki, you go to any other haveli, you're not supposed to keep the aarti outside. They're keeping it for the sake of other people who are coming there. If you're a true Pushti Margiya Vaishnava, you shouldn't be taking a aarti only. Not supposed to take it. Again, Maryada Kram. True Pushti Ji will never take an aarti. The tomb that you have, the shikhar that you have, the dwaja that you have, havelis don't have it. Haveli is a residence of Nandraya Ji. The original term was Nandalay.
The same at our home also we put Agasi, not
Yeah, we're not supposed to have shikhar based mandirs.
So
Not take the aarti. Pushtimargiya Vaishnavas should refrain from taking aarti. Because the bhavana is to remove the nazar of Bhagavan. And why do you want to take that nazar on you?
it follows all Pushti Margi things. Then why this is
You will have to ask the temple authorities for it. How do I answer for the trustees? Acha, let's flip the question. Why do you take Aarti? Why do you take Aarti?
Because maybe we feel it's the blessings.
Offer to the Lord, we take. That's whatever you want to call it.
Because it doesn't make it never.
First time we knew that Aarti is for Najar and Najar comes in that time.
A lot of first times have happened in this katha. A lot of first times have happened in this katha.
So we are blessed. Yeah, we learned a lot.
Depends on you how you take it.
We have to go back to the kids and tell them all about it.
See,
This is
once again,
this is the conflict that we are facing since so many Maharashis and so many teachers, so many mentors. So there's always a conflict between what we have been teaching, even our kids, and now we have to refrain from doing something and there's an alternate way of doing it or different way of doing something. So this is something that we are facing even from our teachers.
honestly speaking, okay, let me put it this way. A school of thought is a mastering the fundamental. So let's say Vishnu Bhakti is the base. Going the ISKCON way, going the Ramanuj way, going the Madhva way, going the Vallabh way are all school of thoughts that have been developed on the fundamental. Now, sorry to say this, but your halat is like a pakhawach. आप दोनों बाजू से बचते हो. Fundamentals are weak, masters is also weak. So you'll have to ace both the sides simultaneously. The basic most thing that you can do is understand the concept of puja. There's a 16-step puja which is called the Shodashopchar puja. If you understand the 16 step of puja, once you've grasped the entire concept of it, then try and relate it to seva. And you'll realize that there are far more similarities in comparison to differences. Now, how do you learn 16-step puja? The Pandit that comes to your house, if he or she happens to be a good orator, call them, make them sit, tell them, explain us the entire puja. That day, Sandeep ji was saying, they are stopping me to ask questions. Your stopping of questions has given the lights and liberties to Pandits to manipulate you. And yeah, they've made the most out of it. The puja that you would expect 2.5 hours, you said get it done in 45 minutes. They said okay. तो ताली दोनों हाथ से बज रही है. Now stop playing the tali and start playing the pakhawaj. Start getting your fundamentals in place, start getting your masters in place. And mind you, it will take time. You took 16 to 21 years just to be ready enough to earn for next 30 years. You think 7 days is going to solve your problem? ये ट्रेलर है. पिक्चर अभी बाकी है. So I hope Aarti is concluded over here now. Please don't feel offended. Don't be so fragile that your egos are hurt. And the question came to me on the fourth day. I forgot to say, the question came to me on the fifth day. I forgot to say on the sixth day. That's why I'm telling it to you on seventh day.
He was observing us for 4 days.
Is there any other point you want to say today? Being last.
Nahin. Stop being so trahimam, and stop judging me for my age. I can eat 100-year-old up for whatever age I am in. Even if a 5-year-old sits over here, that particular person is treated as a Vyas. So tomorrow, if I find a younger one who's sitting over, then I'll chupchap sit samne without having an ego stating that, hey, how do you know more than me? And mind you, Vyasji was not the one to first do the Bhagavad Katha. It was Vyasji's son to do the first Bhagavad Katha. Shukdevji Maharaj did the first Bhagavad Katha. And at that time, Vyasji was sitting right in front. You're thinking that Vyasji would have kept his ego while listening to the Bhagavad Katha?
That was my question.
Yeah.
Why did that?
Because Shukdevji Maharaj is considered to be the Uttam Bhakta in comparison to Vyasji. You heard distress of Vyasji, you never heard distress of Shukdevji Maharaj. Naradji is Rajasic in nature. That's why he keeps on moving around. Parikshit had zero expectations. That's why he's considered to be Uttam. And Shaunak and Sutta. Shaunak has that ego of having 88,000 students under him. That's why he's considered Kanishta. Now, how will you understand the difference? It won't come by reading a translation. Because in translation, it has not been mentioned that who is Kanishta, who is Uttam, and who is Madhyam.
There was a story of the gopis who actually hid their clothes when like Vyasji came.
Yes, it's true.
And then when his son Sukha came, they didn't bother.
They didn't bother. Because it is said in Bhagavad Ji that Shukdevji Maharaj is someone who doesn't differentiate between men and women. Stri pum vida natu sustasya vivikta drushte. This is the term which is used in Bhagavad Ji. That Shukdevji Maharaj is so engrossed that he doesn't differentiate between men and women. And what do you call in Hindi laaj nikalna? That same laaj nikalna word was something that everyone had to do when Vyasji was passing by, when they were bathing in water. So it's absolutely true what she's saying. Good that you have reference of Bhagavad Ji. Happy to hear. So Agel's general image of a Kathakar is has to have white hair. And the first day whenever I sit for a Katha, most of the people say, I am Kathakar. And then I have to peacefully embrace the judgments. And honestly speaking, I don't even care. No, I'm not even here to prove. I told you I can eat up whomever I want to. Why? Because I have nothing to lose.
No expectations.
Nothing. If I had no expectations, if I had expectations, then I wouldn't come on day one and guide them. I had no expectations. That's why I thought, let me be, a solution for you rather than be a trouble for you. Some of you are feeling I am doing this katha for them. Sometimes this katha is not even for them. It's for this own Nijanan Masti. And that Nijanan Mati has the direct connection to your. It's between me and my Thakur. You all are madhyam, medium. The way you have problems, even I have problems. The only difference is I'm not taking them as seriously as you all are taking it. Now you might say because you are a bachelor, you are saying this. Meet me after 15 years if I'm married, if my statement is the same. Then possibly there's something I've done correct in spirituality in comparison to you.